very first time in the history of mankind, science has officially confirmed that the crucifixion of Jesus was 100% real. Now let's take a look at the new scientific proof, which has finally given us an answer that he was indeed crucified and he was also resurrected 3 days after his death. This right here is the documentary that was published by History Channel, and it gives you like an insight of what the Shroud of Turin basically is.
In over 5 years, this Christian holy relic is referred to as the Shroud of Turin.
Damn, that's a heavy
voice. The Shroud
voice.
of Turin is this amazing relic. At bottom, it's a piece of cloth. It shows a very faint sort of image of a crucified man. And the crucified.
So basically, if you look at this Turin, you don't kind of have any image that's like shown immediately. But then if you look at it closely, you'll actually see that there is a man that's kind of laying over here. Like a man that seems to have been crucified. Now just take a look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this, but we have a much more clear image over here.
Calls us to remember Jesus' death and resurrection.
The Bible talks about the burial cloths. All 4 of the Gospels mention.
Look at this. This is actually mentioned in the Bible where it says, "Then took they the body of Jesus and bound it in the linen cloths," which means that they wrapped his body after his death in a linen cloth.
That Jesus was taken down from the cross. He was wrapped in linen and then his body was put in the tomb.
According to the legends,
apparently this is how it happened. Damn.
The shroud is the cloth that his dead body is wrapped in. And because of the contact with the body of Jesus.
So this is apparently how it looks like. So you kind of have like a much more detailed image right over here.
That transforms and leaves a lasting mark on the cloth.
So now that you guys know what the Shroud of Turin is, now let's get to the scientific experimentation that was done on this stuff. And the proof that you're going to see right now is something that's going to blow your minds off. Now keep this in mind that this is not some sort of a faith that we're putting into this stuff. This is actual scientific proof, which we have finally been able to extract this using the latest technology that we mankind have as of now. Take a look at this whole stuff, man.
One of the most controversial artifacts in history. The Shroud of Turin is a burial cloth that's imprinted with is the actual image of Jesus after his crucifixion.
So this is apparently how it looks like right now. And it's currently kept in display in one of the churches. So you can eventually go there and look at the Shroud of Turin as well. It's possible. You can actually see it for yourself.
Shroud is back in the headlines in a major way with a just-released study finding that the cloth does indeed date back to the time of Christ, and with artificial intelligence having something to say about the Shroud as well. First of all, look, some people have said, well, it was debunked. It only dates back 700 years. Right. But in your research, you found a quite different story. You're the go-to guy on this right now.
What basically happened was like they did a research in 1945 before this. Back then they didn't have technology and stuff, so they kind of just declared it's just an artifact from 700 years ago. But now they kind of just did an entirely different research with the new technology, and for the very first time now it has officially been confirmed that Shroud of the Turin is not 700 years ago. It's from 2000 years ago, exactly during the time of when Jesus Christ was crucified.
And what people don't realize is the Shroud of Turin is the most studied archaeological artifact in the world. There is not a close second. And so when we talk about this finding, we're not talking...
So apparently there is literally no other artifact from the history of mankind that is as well studied as the Shroud of Turin. So this is like the #1 artifact in the world. So this means that every scientist, every single researcher in the world has done official research on this stuff, and it has officially been proven that it's indeed Jesus Christ.
Talking about just a group of theologians or Bible scholars who want it to be true. We're talking about the most ardent skeptics who now say this is indeed the burial linen cloth of Jesus of Nazareth.
Damn, dude, just look at this stuff. Apparently, it seems like the guys who wanted to prove that this whole thing was a hoax, it's not true, they are the ones who actually got to test this thing and get this research done and all this stuff, and they were really in shock.
So I've gone
that's
truly
the best part of
from
all.
a skeptic of the shroud to a full believer. I believe this is indeed the burial shroud of Jesus that the Gospels, all four, tell us about.
Some other breaking news you shared with me off camera. There is evidence in the shroud of trauma to the person depicted in the shroud.
So trauma basically means that what kind of death Jesus died. So this was also possible for these scientists in order to like figure out, because there were some blood samples that was like left inside this Shroud of Turin, and they examined these blood samples and it gave them a lot more information about how this person died. And this is all possible even after 2,000 years, only because of the technology that we possess right now in this day and age in this year. So
number one is the wide-angle X-ray scattering imaging. This is by the Crystallography National Research Council. These are not a bunch of theologians. So they use wide-angle analysis, and they see that the linen fibers from the shroud are not 700 years old. They're 2,000 years old.
That's exactly when Jesus existed. From now, 2,000 years ago, and that's exactly when he was crucified. So that's a solid proof already, and it was already debunked that the previous research that was done was not having enough equipments. And now, since they've done like a research second time, it is officially proven that it is indeed from 2,000 years ago.
And that has rocked the scientific world, so much so that the most ardent skeptics now believe we have the genuine article with the Shroud of Turin. When you look at the shroud in person, and I would encourage everyone to look at it, the thing that strikes you the most is the blood.
So you kind of see the blood when you look at the shroud? I mean, is the blood still present in the shroud? I haven't seen it myself in person. I would love to do it someday. Hopefully, if the world doesn't end that soon, I would love to go ahead and take a look at the stuff, because it's one of the most, one of the most researched artifacts, and something that every single person should go and look at this stuff and feel what's actually in there.
There's blood all over the Shroud of Turin, pints of blood, and it's red. And what we know from the latest finding is there is huge amounts of ferritin, that's organ failure, creatinine, bilirubin is released, which causes the blood to stay red. Normally, with human blood, it turns a real dark brown or black on the
Exactly. If you're basically dead in a normal way, and if your blood is like picked up in any of these linen clots, it kind of just turns in a different way. It becomes brown or blackish or in a very dark color. But then if you die out of trauma, there's like all of these things that gets formed in your blood cells. And then it keeps your blood absolutely red for all.
But if the liver secretes bilirubin because you're under so much trauma, when you're dying, it stays stamped in red. To summarize, it's 2,000 years old. That's based on the wax's X-ray scattering. And number two, the blood report shows us that the way the crucified man died in the Shroud of Turin is consistent.
Damn, dude. I mean, all of this stuff is exactly prescribed in the Bible. It's crazy that we are finding this stuff right now. And there's like so many prophecies that's coming true from the Bible that, things that have been told that's going to happen before the second coming of Christ. And now is the time when we actually come across this new latest research, which is officially proving and letting the world know that yes, Bible is true, Jesus is true. And so long, a lot of people have not been having faith because they were believing that, it's not proven that it's real. I mean, Bible could be some sort of a book that's not even real. It could be some sort of a theoretical crap and all that stuff. A lot of people don't believe in this stuff. And I was also one of those guys a couple of years ago. But now we are getting scientific proof that everything is real. And honestly, if you're someone that has always been neglecting in order to know the truth, I think you should definitely watch this video till the end, because this could entirely change your life forever if it hasn't changed already. I would really suggest all of you guys to take a look at the proof that these people have officially found right now.
Number one, it's, as we mentioned, it's the most studied archaeological artifact in the world. There is not a close second. And so when we look at the shrouds, the study of the coins, the textile, the archaeological, hematological, historical data, it means it's very similar to what we would expect to find in the first century in the time of Jesus.
Real quick, what did you think of that AI rendering that was released recently?
Wow, just take a look at this stuff. Let me just Let me just remove my camera from here so you guys can get a clear look at what AI has now created based on all the information that it kind of just scanned from the Shroud of Turin. And just keep this in mind that the AI that these guys have used in order to do this research, it's not like the open AIs that we use as of now in order to create all of these different images. These are like extremely accurate AIs that are used for scientific purposes, which gives you exact imagery of all the research and artifacts that you're going through. And apparently this is exactly how Jesus looked like back in those times. And it seems like he was a 6 foot tall masculine man who came down to earth in order to die for all of our sins.
I loved it. I thought it was
That's
striking,
crazy.
nearly cryptic. I like looking at it because it reminds me of a first century masculine Jewish
Exactly,
savior. That
right?
is the savior that we see depicted, that the Shroud of Turin is the authentic article. The best scientists in the world today cannot explain how there is a molecular image in the shroud linen of Turin. This is a cross-disciplinary group. These are weapons specialists, weapons scientists.
They're not the guys, the researchers who did research on this whole thing, they're not the guys who kind of believe in Jesus or like the Bible and stuff. They are someone that absolutely stays skeptical about each and every findings that they find, including artifacts, whatever it may be. And they only do research on extremely precise and with 100% precision weapon researches. From times like World War I, World War II, they kind of found so many different types of weapons. And these guys have used all of those technologies in order to figure out what's the mystery behind the Shroud of Turin.
From Sandia Labs in New Mexico, where they developed the atom bomb. The scholars who went originally in 1978 and had 5 days with the Turin Shroud, they said, give me 20 minutes and we'll prove it's a hoax. All we'll need is 20 minutes.
Damn, they actually wanted 20 minutes in order to prove that this whole thing is fake. And they were actually laughing about it as well.
Giggling and cackling in the hotel lobby because they thought they had gotten a free trip to Italy to prove this thing's a total hoax. One day in, no one was laughing. Best scientists in the world simply cannot explain how the image is there. If you stand a few feet away from the image, it disappears. We cannot explain with our best scientists.
Wait, what? If you stand a few feet away from the Shroud of Turin, you can't see it. But then if you get super close to it and keep looking at it, you need to stare at this whole cloth, right? You can't really see it if you're just looking at it from the first glance. You need to stare into that cloth, and that's the only way you're going to see like the exact body of Jesus Christ coming to life. I mean, it's something that, you know, it feels like it was done using some sort of a technology, but then technology did not exist back in those times. And even at this time, as of now, in order to do something like that, it takes a lot of power and machineries and lasers and massive amount of light in order to create something like that.
How the image is there. That's probably the fact that convinced me the most that it's not a hoax. No one else was crucified the way Jesus was. We had crucified victims, remains all the way from Britannia to Italy to Jerusalem. The way that Jesus died was an especially heinous form of crucifixion, Eric.
So keep this in mind that the researchers, they also did research on all the different types of people that were also crucified during the Roman times. So it's not just Jesus that they did all of this research on. There were different types of people as well. And it seems like none of those guys who were crucified died the same way as Jesus, because the way that they killed him is absolutely gruesome. And if you want to see the exact depiction of how Jesus was killed, then there is a movie which was made by Mel Gibson where they show the last 8 hours before the death of Jesus, and that movie is just absolutely nuts. It's so gruesome. And if you're going to be watching that movie, I'm pretty sure that you will end up in tears, because the way that the movie depicts on how they killed Jesus is beyond what we call as humanity, because that is such a terrific way in order to crucify a person. And it seems like there was literally nobody that was killed in such a horrible way.
This is breaking news on your show. I used to say there were only 372 wounds on the crucified man of the Shroud. I actually have to update my research based on this breaking news. We now can count 700 wounds.
Wow, you even count wounds using the new technology. Look at this stuff. Power pelts across body. Wow, they even like calculated every single one of those bruises that he's got into his body, and it was actually seen in the Shroud of Turin. How is that even possible? How is all of these details even possibly given in a piece of cloth? That's just insane.
On the crucified man. That means 120 whiplashes on his body with that flagellation. Let that sink in for a minute. When I see the 700 wounds, that is a demonstration of Christ's love.
The Passion of the Christ, the Mel Gibson film, seemed to be
There's the movie I was talking about.
pretty accurate portrayal. The brutality in that film, it was the real deal.
It was
legitimate.
It was absolutely
There was
crazy.
a demonic level of excruciating pain that Jesus went through. He died of
Exactly, man.
asphyxiation, trauma, organ failure, and he did it willingly. He did it because he wanted to.
He knew what kind of death he was going to die, and then he was like, all right, I'll do it, because I had to do it. And I think the Bible also describes that he cried on the mountain. Before he got arrested, he kind of just cried on the mountain to his father, saying, I don't want to do this. It's very scary. I really don't want to do this. But then his father was like, I'm sorry, son. This is something that you need to do. That's like one of the most gruesome thing you could do to someone.
It's
and
really
it's just crazy
interesting
that he accepted
and we
it.
have to go back to the days of film photography. Do you remember like 1 hour photo places where
course,
you would take
yes.
pictures? Fascinating to weapons scholars, not Bible scholars, is that when they put the image of the shroud through this machine called a VP8 image analyzer.
Wow, VP8 image analyzer. Let me just remove my camera for a second so you guys can read what's on the screen over here. It says VP8 image analyzer revealed the image in the shroud has a 3-dimensional topographic quality.
A 3D hologram of Jesus literally emerges of the crucified man. If you put other images through this VP8 image analyzer, it's just essentially like 2D. But this 3D image emerges.
Wow, this can generate 3D imagery? Like you can actually see the nose, the beard, and everything. It's kind of like made in 3D stuff. And apparently this is the machine in which they use the stuff in order to print like a 3D version of what's available in like the Shroud of Turin. And look at this stuff. This is what it kind of just gave us. It looks crazy, man. Look at this. Wow. It kind of just gives you like a full body of Christ. That's crazy the way that it actually shows. Damn, where the hell are we with technology in these days, man? All right, now back to the
This is
interview
what
here.
set off this emergence of research around the shroud. You can see that it has a 3D
it does.
topographical quality to it.
I always thought this was just a flat image. I didn't know it had the 3D quality.
I thought it was a flat image as well. I didn't know it was 3D. This is the first time I'm getting to know that it's like a 3D image, and you can literally see like the nose, the beard, and everything just coming out of it. So you need to actually see like the actual 3D picture in order to like see how it looks. And this dude apparently has it. I wish I could see it in person, because you need to like tilt it in order to see from all different angles, and it will actually give you like the face and the body of Jesus just coming outside the picture. That's crazy
When you're
stuff.
researching it in the 1970s, and by the way, one of the scientists was a secular Jewish guy who became a Christian after investigating and researching the shroud.
Right.
Wait, what? The guy who actually did the research was a Jewish guy, and he doesn't believe in, Jesus and stuff. Obviously, the Jews don't believe in that stuff. So he converted into Christian after he found out all the stuff about the research and everything, because before he was not really ready to believe it. But after that, he was like, all right, man, I give up, I finally give up, and it seems like everything is true.
Now, he thought it was a free trip to Italy as well, and he's a Jewish guy. He was a lapsed Jew who now believes, without a doubt, this was Jesus's burial cloth.
A lot of people, even though we have all of these research and scientific proof that's coming out, a lot of people are still very ignorant in order to not address the stuff or not watch the stuff and learn about the truth, because I don't know for whatever reason that is, man. And the Bible also says that there will be a lot of people that even though you show them the proof, that even though you have a scientific proof that God is actually bringing all these things right into your face, and still you would neglect and say, I don't want it. And that's something that the Bible actually says, that there will be a lot of people that will reject God despite whatever he does, despite whatever proof he shows. And I don't know, man, I'm just making this video hoping that someone in the viewers, hopefully you guys could find all of these things or do your own research after watching this video, and it could just open your eyes into what the truth is all about and what is scientifically proven and what we're actually seeing right now. And there's been a lot of different religions. I myself, I was not born in a Christian family, and I never knew about any of these things about Jesus, nor the Bible, or anything. I was completely new, and I got myself introduced to Jesus in a very spiritual way. And ever since I saw the Lord, it absolutely changed my life forever. And today, whatever I am is all because of the guidance and everything that He's shown. And I know that some people, it's just very hard for you guys to believe this stuff because it never happened with you. And I do understand. And I've also been in the same situation a couple of years ago because I absolutely had no faith in any of these things. And I just thought that, all of this is bullshit. People just try to convert each other into Christianity and all this stuff, But when I actually got to face the Spirit of God, that's the one time that I finally got to know that everything is real. And I started to do research and, find out all this stuff. And I was really in shock and at the same time very happy that at least now I know the truth. And I'm trying to follow and be a better person every single day. And that's the reason why I'm just bringing out these videos in front of you guys. A lot of people have been complaining that, well, why are you not making gaming videos? And why do you make all of this stuff right now? And the reason why is because, I don't know, man, the things that's happening in the world, the prophecies coming true. I think that, I should use the platform that God has blessed me with in order to let people know about these things. Because even if one person from all the millions of views that I get on my channel, even if one person gets to see this video or learns something and realize or change their life and get saved by God's grace, that would actually mean a lot to me than all the success and everything that I've earned on this platform until today. So it really doesn't matter to me if people have been commenting negative stuff about, dude, you should stick to gaming, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. It really doesn't matter. I'm not doing this in order to grow on YouTube and doing this because I have a purpose that I just feel that, God is trying to communicate with me in order to spread the things so that people can get aware about all the things that's going on in the world.
We don't have faith in faith. We don't just come up with a faith feeling. We believe based on evidence. And isn't it interesting in these prophetic times, with everything happening right now in Israel, Jerusalem, around the world, wars and rumors of wars, we see these new evidences emerging, but some still refuse to believe.
Exactly.
I think about John chapter 11. Lazarus had been resurrected from the dead, and the Pharisees still refused to believe in Jesus. So
Exactly, right? That's exactly my point that this man is talking over here. Because in John chapter 11, Jesus said that even if I resurrected Lazarus from the dead, and these Pharisees witnessed it with their own eyes, and they would still say that he's just doing some sort of a black magic, demon stuff and all that, crap. But they were refusing to believe what Jesus was saying, no matter what kind of miracles he showed. And at the same time, if you just look at the things that's currently happening in the world, that Israel is at war. And this was something that was prophesied on the Bible. And at the same time, Euphrates River, which exists near Jordan River, it's completely getting dry. And that was also prophesied in the Bible that before the second coming of Christ, the entire river is going to be completely dry. And that's when the revelation is going to be beginning. And that thing is actually happening right now. And at the same time, it was also mentioned that Project Blue Beam, which is going to be a hoax that the government and the rulers who actually rule the world are going to start off this whole thing called as an extraterrestrial being invasion, like the alien invasion. And there's like all of these drones that are just circulating around the world. And there will be a lot of talks about wars and different wars happening in the world. And it also mentions that Jerusalem, which is in Israel as of now, Jerusalem will actually be surrounded by armies, and there will be fires and destruction everywhere surrounding Jerusalem. And it's not just that. The prophecies, it also mentions that water will actually flush out of desert lands. And take a look at this stuff that's actually happening right now in the world. There's water that's flushing out of desert. Nobody knows where it's coming from. And a couple months ago, the Sahara Desert, one of the biggest deserts, is now completely filled with snow. And this is also prophesied in the Bible.
The desert, more commonly known for its hot and dry climate, is currently witnessing this very rare occurrence. On January 18th, temperatures had plummeted to -2 degrees Celsius in northwest Algeria.
Do you think that's naturally possible? How's all of this happening?
43 years.
Out of nowhere. This has never happened in the history of mankind. And for the very first time, it's happening. And it's not just this. Even the prophecy where Euphrates River is going to be drying up, that is also happening. Just take a look at this
river
stuff
continues
right
to dry up as prophesied within the Bible. This is an amazing footage I came across from 2020 in comparison to 2021 in the same spot you'll see right now. Here's 2020. You'll see how full it is.
Look at this stuff. This is basically how it looks like in 2020. And in 2021, you will see how different this exact same place is. And this has never happened before in the history. The Euphrates River has never, ever, ever dried up before. This is the first time that's actually happening. And this was prophesied in Bible that this whole thing will take place, including Israel's war with the Middle East, including Israel capturing Palestine. And at the same time, it also says that Euphrates River will also get dry, and Project Bluebeam, that is the thing that Bible actually warns us about the leaders in power will actually end up doing before the second coming of Christ. All of those things are happening where we get this fake alien invasion, extraterrestrial beings just taking over the world, and there will be a massive destruction, all that stuff. Everything is happening at the same time.
And you'll see here in a moment just the level that it's dropped to pass, because when the sixth angel pours out his vial on the river Euphrates and the water therefore is dried up, so the kings of the east can be prepared. So that was 2020. And as you can see here, 2021.
This is the exact same place in 2021. And we are living in 2025, and the river is getting drier and drier day by day. And according to the Bible, the day in which the river will be absolutely dry, and I mean 100% dry, is when the revelation that is mentioned in the Bible is going to be starting, when Antichrist is going to take over the world. So just
and the river is completely dried up. We aren't at the part of Revelation where the angels are pouring out their vials, but it's moving towards this time. And I
look at this stuff. It's completely dry, man. What other proof do you guys
this
need?
Is a foreshadow right before the angel pours his vial on the river and it's completely dried up, and the four angels that are bound there are loosed, that will cause absolute havoc upon the earth, as mentioned in Revelation 9:13 through 15.
So this stuff, everything is actually happening. It's not like everything is fake. I know some people still wouldn't believe because, I don't know, for whatever reason. It's up to your own self if you whether or not if you want to believe it or not. But it is definitely happening, guys. That's the reason why I'm making this video, so that, you know, some people might get aware about what's actually going on in the world. Apparently, this is the church in which Shroud of the Turin is actually kept as of now. If you want to visit this church, it's the Royal Chapel of the Cathedral of San Giovanni Battista Church. And this is what the reel actually says. Just take a look at this stuff.
Has just been made in regards to the Shroud of Turin. A controversial linen shroud, regarded by millions to be the one Jesus was buried in, has baffled the world for centuries.
Exactly.
The shroud bears a faint image of the front and back of a bearded man, which many believe is Jesus's body miraculously imprinted onto the fabric.
And it's actually miraculously imprinted. It's not like something that just formed just because of blood. Because
but research in the 1980s appeared to debunk the idea it was real. Now, Italian researchers who used a new technique involving X-rays to date the material,
which was done right now. This is like the recent experiment which was done, due to which, you know, the Shroud of Turin, the case was reopened and they kind of did this whole research. And now we actually found out something crazy.
Have confirmed it was manufactured around the time of Jesus, about 2,000 years ago. The shroud has been preserved since 1578 in the Royal Chapel of the Cathedral of...
Look at this. It's actually displayed right now. You can go ahead and take a look at this stuff. I think everyone should go ahead and look at this. This is like the real Shroud of Turin that they've just displayed over there.
San Giovanni Battista in Turin, Italy.
That's crazy, dude. I would love to go ahead and see how this whole shroud thing looks like. Now take a look at this documentary which was recently just done based on how they found out the image that was actually imprinted on the Shroud of the Turin. Now this image was not very clear to the guys who actually saw this with their bare eyes, but then when they put it into a machine and then it starts scanning it, it gives you a very, very clear image of what Jesus basically looked like. Now take a look at this stuff.
In 2011, how they've been experimenting with ultraviolet excimer lasers. These are high power, these are industrial lasers, not some kind of pointer. And they determined a 40 nanosecond burst achieves the very same depth and coloration as we see on the shroud. This experimentally shows how the image could indeed be the result of light.
So, for those of you guys who don't understand what this basically means, so apparently what happens here is that the Shroud of Turin, it has this imprintation of Jesus' body in it. And this is not something that's kind of imprinted out of blood or something like that. Now, according to science, it seems like the imprintation of Jesus' face and his entire body is absolutely impossible for something like that to exist on a linen cloth. But how did this thing even happen? Now, what the scientists have done is that they have apparently used some sort of a laser technology in which they tried to imprint some sort of an image in a plain linen cloth. And in order to do that, it is only possible if you're using some crazy amount of technology, such as this huge laser thing, which kind of emits 15,000 lasers all at the same time, concentrating in one particular spot. But then remember, in Shroud of Turin, there is an entire body that is kind of imprinted, which means that there's apparently been some sort of a burst of energy that kind of passed through the body of Jesus Christ. And some people say that the reason why that kind of energy just happened is probably on the day when Jesus was resurrected and his soul could have just entered the body, and due to which there was a massive amount of light that kind of just emitted out of that linen cloth, which kind of just imprinted the entire body of Jesus on that particular cloth. Now, the scientists actually did a massive research on this stuff. Now, these are not some sort of biblical scholars. These are the guys who are weapon experts, and they've been doing this stuff, and they actually took on this whole mission in order to prove that the Shroud of Turin is not actually true. And then what happened after they did this full research left them in absolute shock. Now take a look at what they have to say here.
To create the shroud image in a split second.
To replicate the shroud image, you would need 14,000 lasers. All going off instantaneously at the same time.
I have to remind everybody, lasers weren't invented until about 1946.
So there was no lasers until 1946. So this artifact is 2,000 years old, which is at the same time as to when Jesus existed. Now watch this stuff.
Something of that nature in medieval times or even in the first century just couldn't exist.
But if the shroud...
Look at this stuff. Look at the way that, his entire face, the body and everything is imprinted. This needs like a huge burst of energy is what the scientists are saying.
What is truly from the first century, an event from the Bible might reveal an answer.
And just before Jesus makes his last trip to Jerusalem, he takes Peter, James, and John with him up on a high mountain and is transfigured before them.
Some turn to the Bible and point to the transfiguration of Christ that took place when Christ was praying with the disciples. They read scripture and they highlight the passage that indicates his face was shining as the sun and his clothes became bright white.
So apparently his disciples actually saw the real version of Jesus, where he showed them what he looks like in reality, which is like a bright light that's just emitting out of his own body.
In the biblical account, Jesus is transfigured into a form of energy or light.
Exactly. So apparently it seems like he's some sort of a light. So basically what happened later after his death is also a massive amount of light that just happened to be inside of this linen cloth, that out of nowhere, it's unexplainable how such a technology was even possible back in those times. Mel Gibson even speaks about the new latest research, which is done on Shroud of Turin, and it's actually very interesting to see what this guy has to say about this whole situation.
Recently, they verified the Shroud of Turin. Have you seen that?
They used to think that it was only a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
They also don't understand how it was made, which to me is very fascinating because it's not paint. They don't know what caused the image itself and how that technology would have even been available.
And intense.
Back in those times, that technology was not possible back in those times.
Light, I mean, atomic, to leave almost like a photographic imprint on a piece of cloth. A first century Hebrew male, because the hairstyle was from the first century, that he was about 6 feet tall.
I told you, he was 6 feet tall. He was a very tall man.
That he was completely scourged all over his body. He was crucified. Recently.
Damn, that's crazy, right? The entire world is talking about this stuff, about the new research that just happened about Shroud of Turin. And I thought, why not just go ahead, make a video about it so that, I can do my part in order to spread the God's words. And hopefully God's going to be happy with what I'm doing right now with the platform that he has gifted me with and all the things that he has provided me in order to serve him. And at the end of the days, when we are heading towards the final destination of this earth and our life, I hope that most of you guys who are watching this video could, go ahead and do some more research for yourself and find out what's actually behind all of this stuff about Bible, the Shroud of Turin, as well as the latest research which was done on the Moses 10 Commandments, which is known as the Ark of the Covenant, which is kept inside a box. I also did a video on that one, which I will link down below in the description of this video, or you can just go ahead and check out all the videos on my channel and you'll come across the Ark of the Covenant video, where you can actually see that the 10 Commandments that Moses got from the Mount of Sinai, it actually exists. It's actually kept inside this box, which is one of the hugest artifacts that exist as of now, apart from the Shroud of Turin. So I'm just making all of these videos so that, you know, it could be helpful in order to open the eyes of some people that are just living in the dark and get to see some of the light. And I'm just really happy that I'm doing this stuff, serving God and using my platform, not just to, you know, make gaming videos, but at the same time, it could make me feel satisfied with whatever I'm doing in my life. So I'm super excited to see where this channel is heading. And honestly, guys, if you are someone that made it till the end of this video, and if you're watching this part of the video, let me know in the comments down below that you have watched the entire video. And I'm pretty sure that the guys who want to change their life and want to walk in the path of God are the only people that kind of watch the entire video. So I would love to know who those are. Please leave your comments down below if you're one of those guys who watched it till the end of this video. And with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video or found this video useful, please just take a few seconds of your valuable time, drop a like on this video, share this video with your friends, and hopefully someone that needs a saving could actually find this video and come across this video and get to know what's actually going around in the world. And hopefully after watching this video, they could just open their Bibles and get to do their research and finally get to know who the Lord of this world is. So yeah, with that being said, if you guys want to watch more videos like these, more coverages, because I'm going to be doing content like gaming and also do this solo podcasting thing where I react to and give you guys all the most information that you need about most of the trending things that's going on in the world and some things that you guys should definitely know about. So if these are the videos that you guys enjoy, then make sure to go ahead, subscribe, and join our 200,000 subscribers army that we are currently building. And it's honestly a big pleasure and a blessing from the God in order to receive such an amazing community from all of you guys. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Until then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.